the big guy is not going to believe until the little guy believes, and the little guys are now like making all the hype, right? They're driving all the hype. All the little guys are getting together, driving the hype up, and eventually, a big guy comes in, Steph Curry, and I don't know if you guys knew that, but Steph Curry spent
No.
he bought
Mm.
a Bored Ape, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Bored Ape Yacht Club, BAYC is the short on Twitter. But if you go look that up, Steph Curry paid in and bought himself one, and I'm really curious what he's going to do with it because I think he paid around 150, 160K for it
Wow.
in ETH. How cool would it be to have the jack to spend to if Steph Curry put his up? I was telling somebody about this. It's like, what if the idea that Steph's going to do this because what he wants to do is drive some attention to something. I know he's like he's raising money or gave money to Davidson for the women's sports athletics department. And what if he really wanted to do was like do a raise here where he bought something for 150, but then he could resell it for 5x that or something like that, right?
Right.
Sells it for 5x that and decides like, well, I'm going to just send this to charity. You're the person who buys it at 5x or group of people. You can say not only one, we bought it from Steph Curry. Two,
Mm.
it went to this PR headline. There's news articles about it, and then three, like our names are everywhere because we're the ones who bought it. We have all this swag now, and the market's gone crazy because now Steph Curry was in it, and somebody else is in it.
Easily I approach the fifth of him because I ain't no joke.
Here we are, Drink Tokens number 21. We last week you heard from us. We were getting the band back together.
Yeah.
This week we're bringing in an expert on something that is flooded the headlines. You, Rob, and myself, you being the public, Rob and myself, really don't know what the fuck is going on with
No.
with everything blockchain, NFTs, so on and so forth. So we brought in
NFT, is that newfound treasure or what's the real lingo on it?
Newfound treasure. Yeah, 100%.
new
Perfect.
new fucking Tony. But let's let him introduce myself. Let him introduce himself. He's my brother, our frat brother. So go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Yeah. So my name is Jason Maestas. I am. Yes, I'm related to the show. How about that? So this is how you get to be a guest. You get related to the show you get on. I work at a company called Rally.io is the website, and we deal with something called Creator Coin, which are cryptocurrency for influencers. Famous people, relatively, plus
Wow.
also digital creators of really any walk of life. Even artists, gamers, celebrities. So we do that for part of the job, and within that is the structure that we build all that on is blockchain. And so we also have our own NFT feature, and so I happen to also study NFTs to understand what's going on in the market, own a few myself in a very limited way, kind of testing out the waters and seeing what's out there. So that's what I do for a living. And before that, so that ground my experience in the creator spaces, I used to work for Twitch for about 7 years. And then it did a bunch of other tech shit way before that.
Damn, that's a lot.
Damn.
Let's start.
I didn't even understand half of that, but it sounded cool. I liked it.
Yeah, we need the crowd to go crazy right there.
Yeah.
So
Twitch, the kids know Twitch.
The kids,
right?
yeah. I think if you're under 35, you might know what Twitch is, just because I think we all grow up playing video games at least in the last since the 80s. I think if you were born after 1980, I think you pretty much know what a video game is and spent some good amount of time doing it. And even myself, I thought that was the coolest shit in the world. But there were no jobs in that industry. Really, there was limited, and I wasn't a programmer, so I went and did a bunch of other things in life that weren't video gaming. And then all of a sudden, here here we are with social media. Everybody has a web, or people have webcams. They can capture themselves playing video games and all of a sudden streaming it and making Ninja. If you've ever heard of this kid named Ninja, he's actually almost 30 now, but making easy made 8 figures already in this game. 20-30 million dollars probably to date.
Damn.
Wow.
Playing video games from home. Probably more than that actually. So living the dream if you can get there. it's something you can aspire to these days and actually do from home. So that, we support people like that through my business and certainly Twitch for sure.
So let's start real basic here. So when we say blockchain technology, we're talking one thing pops out is like cryptocurrencies, right? So we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum,
Ethereum, yeah.
Where's it, Dogecoin or Dogcoin?
Yeah.
Dogecoin, and all
Is
kind
it
of
Dogcoin or Doge?
It's
What
Doge.
is Doge?
Yeah, Doge, because Doge is like the internet way of saying
Yeah.
dog, in a different way. Just like internet
Got it.
speak, you say Doge, and then so
Got
somebody
it.
made a joke. If you, so all these things are kind of interesting. Like I don't know 100% of this stuff, but I know a fair amount. And so for example, like Bitcoin is, think of Bitcoin like a banker's cryptocurrency. This is why you see these like big time financial organizations are like into Bitcoin, talking about it all the time. So it's like a fintech, like a financier's cryptocurrency. So a lot of it is just like that's why the people say it's like digital gold, because it's that sort of foundation and how people use it as an asset. Like they would gold. You would back up, you would have all this cash and loans and stuff, but you would try to have some gold on your ledger because gold is like, the gold standard for currency across the world. But so Ethereum is like the engineer's cryptocurrency because it's more of like a platform you build things on. So say for example, like you could almost think of it. This is not the best apples to apples, but think of it like iOS or any of these things where there's a platform, and if you're an app developer, you can make something and put it on it. That's more like what Ethereum is. And then Doge, the funny thing is, and I'll close out on this, is like Doge is actually somewhat of a copy of Bitcoin's code base, without taking itself so seriously. It was really literally like written as a joke, and in its own way has this like developed. It's like typical of people.
So each one is a different type of monetary value, though, right? Like Bitcoin, Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Are all these things like yen, dollar, peso, or?
So what you have here are, that's a good way to think of it, is they're all, think of them as different countries because they are their own in the space. They're called like layer one cryptocurrencies. And so you've heard Facebook is trying to create a cryptocurrency. Maybe you've heard that news. They're also trying to create a layer one cryptocurrency, meaning they wouldn't be a branch off of Ethereum or a branch off of Bitcoin. They're creating their own main. Right, so they're creating, whatever country they want, you want them to be in.
What about
think of it like risk, almost.
Yeah.
But like, so there's all this.
Well, what's the exchange rate though? Like $1 to what though?
So that's where things get interesting, because it's all about, like most assets, in like stock market type of way. Like the more money being put into it, the higher the price goes. And so what's been established here is that because Bitcoin is now like seen as no longer a joke. It's no longer this like, oh, yay, I don't, this, when it came out, people were like really skeptical, right? And so you didn't have, this is why it was, hanging around in the hundreds and maybe thousands at one point. And then it got to like maybe a couple of years ago, 2017, 2018, I think got to like 20K or something. And then everybody like flipped out and like sold, right? And it sold its way down to, again, maybe below 10 somewhere. I want to say even like to 3K again. And then it's had this, rise over the last year all the way up to 60, I want to say at one point. Now just hovering around 50K per Bitcoin. And so really what you have here is it's a finite, it's all this math nerdy stuff, but it's like there's cryptocurrencies are finite systems. All currencies are finite systems, unless of course you're like the U.S. government and you've
keep printing money, right?
Keep printing $3 trillion in the last year and a half or something. And so in that case, like Bitcoin won't just all of a sudden drop in another set of coins and like cause some sort of deflation of the market. Like it has a finite number that is possible. And along the way here, what you have are all these, you hear about like the mining. You have all these people out in the world who are trying to set up their own server farms to like do these complex calculations that then will allow them to potentially bring more Bitcoin into the world supply, because that's what it is. It's just like this. It's almost like just like a supercomputer cracking system that's like, think of it like a supercomputer that's like breaking down a mountain, and like as you break down the mountain, eventually you find gold in there, right? So it's almost like you're guaranteed to find the gold, but it's going to take so much computational effort to do it. And so that's kind of what that is. And so very similarly along those lines is like, how much money are people putting into this thing
Yeah.
in order for it to then
So when you were talking about influencers and all that, so are they paid out with this currency? So your company pays them out, or do you come into like these influencers? How do they get a hold of this stuff?
Yeah, so this has been come around the last there's some early adopters to this, but more so in the last year or so, including our project. There's a couple of others, but what we're doing here is we're taking those fundamentals of, in our case, Ethereum, where we're a layer. We want to effectively be what's called a
Mm.
layer 2, meaning we connect. In this case, we're currently going to be a layer 2 that connects to Ethereum. And so we're using some of those fundamentals to create cryptocurrencies custom branded for people. We do a lot of this today. Like we're not quite connected all the way onto Ethereum, so we do this all. The term we use is private sidechain, but really, if you think about it, we're out here just like renting web server space, like as if we were Etsy or something. And so the creators are Etsy's creating these little marketplaces to sell things in their own coin, and what we're doing is we're we have these guys that do all this computational work and know how the minting process works to make coins with a limited supply. And they put so much in the hands of a creator and say, hey, you want to make your coin great? So for example, we have the band Portugal the Man. People may know Portugal the Man. And they were one of our first coins.
We are going to make our own cryptocurrency. It's going to be called PTM Coin. This is for you. This is for our fans. And it's going to come with a bunch of benefits. We are going to be launching a fan-generated audio archive with like unreleased music, live shows, outtakes from our entire history as a band. I'm sure it's going to be sad and hilarious and just something you'll want to see. We'll be updating it regularly. Next month, we are going to be releasing live through Discord our infamous Oregon City sessions, where we will be there with you watching it for the first time in maybe ever, I'm not sure, but it's gonna be some fun stuff. Other benefits will include special merch drops and vinyl drops, live video and text with us, and yeah, man, hop on Discord, go to rally.io to get your coin, and yeah, man, get in this with us. Let's get off the grid. We love you. We've been doing this with you for the whole time. Let's continue together. Fuck, we miss you guys. Can't wait to get back out on the road.
And on their curve, I believe, like for example, the maximum that can come into supply is like 210,000. We give them 50 to start, 50,000 of their own coin. So they're clearly like the percentage-wise, they're the biggest owner of their own coin. Therefore, they own their economy to a degree, and then you open up the marketplace for people to buy in. Now,
how much is the 50,000 of coin? Is there a dollar amount on it, like real cash dollar?
It in itself is not yet liquid. It's relatively the term they use, it would be illiquid. But what's going to happen is once you release once you open the ability for people to buy their coin now, then people come in and start paying for the coin, and just like an asset. Again, every time, like the first person that comes in pays, like in a very small like example, like the first person comes in and pays, wants to buy 100 tokens and pays $100, and just doing the math, right? The next person that comes in and wants 100 coins, they're probably going to have to pay $101. And
so now it has cash value.
Right. And so now the curve starts up. People are paying into it to get the coins and to figure out what they're going to do with it. And so that's then what then collateralizes the 50,000. And so now you're collateralizing the economy. And then as long as people are stabilizing, you try to do things like hold the coins, or sometimes spend them. Obviously, the creators are trying to collect them in some way over time, but also just what we're going to get into with the NFTs part is what everybody's trying to do here is just like create super fan clubs. It's almost like, it's funny how things come back around in time. A big deal, I guess, when I was a kid, I wasn't necessarily in them, but there were, fan clubs were this huge thing way back when. And this is like the new fan club is what cryptocurrency is bringing to market.
So I real quick, I know I'm jumping a few steps, but now let's say you have 100 of that Portugal coin or whatnot.
Yeah.
Can you ever cash it in or
Yeah.
use it, or is it just nostalgic?
No, you can cash it in. This is they're open financial systems. They're and this is really what the block. So what the blockchain is, just so we'll say it once and we'll kind of come back to it in a little ways. But a blockchain is just a ledger. So it's like think of it in simple terms. It's just like an accountant. Everything
Yeah.
and then everything's written down and like encoded, and like, oh, this person, this address bought this thing from this address, and this is how it and this is like who owns it, which is the big part of NFTs, right? Who owns it? Similar with the coins, you bought the coins. The ledger says you bought these coins related to this on this date, at this price, blah, right? And so your question was, can they cash it out? Yes, they. If you so the way you buy in. So let's do this, and then we'll go back out. So the way you come in
Mhm.
is we allow in either what we call in the crypto world you say fiat. Fiat is cash. So you can come in with a debit or credit card and pay a certain level. Banks are still wary. Credit cards are still wary of how much business to do with crypto. So you can't always you can't just take your credit card to crypto
Mhm.
sites and necessarily swipe for a lot of money. Most of them, even like Coinbase, which is the most popular, I use Coinbase as a system. And what you're using there is you're connecting your bank account, because that is then you're building this trust between your bank account and Coinbase so that you can deposit money into this thing, buy cryptocurrency, and then potentially use it. But there's always these little gates along the way. They're like, okay, we're going to take a few days to hold this deposit, take a few
Mhm.
days to hold this one, blah blah blah. So you can then also, for us, like I said, credit card in. You can come in with cryptocurrency and buy these coins, and you can go back out. But you're gonna have to go back out. In our system, we have our own token called Rally Token, RLY, and you sell to that, and then you could sell. Then you can take that Rally Token and you can take it to Coinbase and then turn it into cash at Coinbase. So yeah, you can get out. It's a full 360 financial system.
Mhm.
We wouldn't we started off a little bit differently, but you mature over time and you make sure the systems all work, and you get accepted by places like Coinbase. They recognize you, they recognize your product's legit and your project's legit, and then they give you this facility to make sure that you can convert your coins, in our case, our coin to cash, and that's how you would get out of the system.
So in the one thing we talked about was the coin, but then NFTs are different, right? Like NFT, if the coin is the
Yeah,
currency, then the NFT is more of a product that and that could take a lot of shapes of what that is. Or
right.
As any red-blooded American, if there's an opportunity, I want to seize it. And if there's an opportunity to get rich off farts, I'd be crazy not to jump on that. At the same time, I can't help but revel in the fact that somebody might pay actual money for not even a fart, the idea of a fart, because these NFTs aren't farts. They're just digital alphanumeric strings that represent ownership. It's like buying a certificate that says one fart. If I were to try and sell a piece of paper that said fart, people would very likely call it ridiculous. But now in the context of NFTs, people are dying to buy these things that aren't pieces of art themselves. They're just signifiers. It's like a provenance. It doesn't actually contain anything. So I can just click a few buttons and say, this fart is for sale, and somebody can buy it.
Do you think NFTs, is this like a sign of the end times of something? I mean, is this like late stage capitalism and we'll finally have to, rebirth the economic model and internet dialogue after this? Or can it become more absurd from here?
Well, there's always room for absurdity, and there's definitely always room for farts.
Yeah,
context of
100%. So
that.
this is like walking into a store. I'm gonna buy something, and so I'm exchanging my currency for a thing, and NFTs are a thing. It doesn't have to be a JPEG. It can be music. It can be a PDF that's meaningful. People sell tweets.
Mhm.
It's just a thing. It's a thing that can be essentially packaged into some set of code that then somebody says, "Great, now this is for sale or for giveaway," but it's packaged as such. The blockchain understands that this thing now has some sort of serial number, and then somebody says, "Okay, I'm going to buy that thing, and I'm going to spend my whatever the currency of exchange is on the thing." It's really that simple, but obviously it gets a little bit more nuanced as you look around what the heck's happening.
What's been the most expensive NFT? I've heard like what Banksy had an NFT. I don't even know like at this point what
You look at, so there's so the one that really took off, and this is the funny of the roller coaster of things, is what you've seen in NFTs is kind of interesting because it's encapsulated what's happened over the last 10 years with like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is, do people really believe that, like, the thing's going like this? Do people really believe it? We better cash out. We're not really sure. And then all of a sudden people go, oh no, actually it does work, and then it starts to go back up again. It's an interesting like phenomenon of trust, right? And that's what it all is. It's just really like, do you trust this thing because you're going to spend money on it? And so what we saw about less than 6 months ago, this is like, the time flies in this business, but like maybe 3-4 months ago, there was an artist named Beeple, 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 and he sold something for like, straight up, I almost think it was straight on the meme of like $69 million.
Holy
Wow.
shit.
So he made something that was, and again, I don't know exactly what it was. I think there's a video aspect to it. It's like multiple things put into one. But this guy Beeple sold something, I think, through Christie's. So like, again, like, no
Like a
joke, like an
legit
legit
house.
auction house
Wow.
made it happen, which is then more like, I was reading something today as I was catching up on this, is like, I think that was 69 million. And it's one of one, and for whatever reason, like, whoever all these marks out there are, that like, in the term that you'll see is people ape in, it's like, think of it in the financial market, they'll say like the stocks are on a bull run. In this
Right.
case, like, aping in is like, we're all all these people are going to go crazy to like get in on this thing, like a bunch of apes like pounding their
Who
chest.
the
And like,
fuck comes up with this
that's,
terminology?
I know, I know, I don't know the
Some
actual.
12-year-old in a
Yeah.
basement.
Yeah, for sure. This is what happens when the nerds take over. They just
Yeah.
come up with all kind of wacky terms. But yeah, 69 million. Nothing has come that close since then. But obviously, if you've been paying it, if you've seen it all, what's going on with these, either these Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs or the CryptoPunks NFTs, some of these things are now getting into the millions again.
Now, I think some of them were, I mean, maybe it's Beeple or maybe it's CryptoPunks or whatever, but they're like 8-bit or something like that. Some of the artwork are
CryptoPunks
those.
are 8-bit, yeah.
Yeah, they're like 8-bit artwork. So you're talking
Yeah.
like something that you may fantasize that a kid could draw. But whatever it is, yeah, it's like, I mean, it has its place. And I mean, do you think something like the kids today were talking about, I mean, the kids, I mean, teenagers, but they were talking about
Yeah.
Fortnite. Like, do you think like Fortnite could sell a skin as an NFT? I mean, but does the NFT necessarily, I mean, not necessarily have to be used, but like it could be like its own unique skin could be an NFT, but could an NFT also like have an actual like, I'm trying to think of the term, but like like if it's a wrench, you could still go work on your car with it. Like, can it
has
NFTs
utility.
actually work? Yeah, has utility. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like that. So that's like one of the key concepts is utility, especially in cryptocurrency, because one of the big things about cryptocurrency is what you want to be able to do, especially with us, for example. We want to make sure that people can use the coins. That's use utility. That's the thing, right? It has to have utility, because if things don't have utilities, then what you're dealing with is a security. And then you have a different set of rules, right? And then you run into the different set of IRS, SEC, all those sort of fun rules around like what is a currency with utility and what is a security, right? And
Security is like a stock.
A stock, right? Because you can go buy Amazon stock, but
Right.
I can't take it to Amazon and do anything with it.
You can't go to Target with it or
No, I
something.
can't.
Yeah,
I can't do anything with it. You can't do anything with those things, right? Yeah, I can't meet a guy in the street and say, "Hey, you want to make a transaction in Amazon stock?" No, I'd have to go. I'd have to.
So, wait. Time out. Have you ever seen an '80s movie where you got like a thing full of barrel bonds? Like, I don't even know what those are. But
those are. I don't know barrel bonds that much either. I think those are like really expensive money. Those are like money orders or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You're gonna kill
get your cashier's check.
Yeah. Do you ever remember having a cashier's check and how goddamn scary that was for a few minutes? Or like, I'm just walking around with a paper piece. It's a piece of paper that says $5,000 on it. That anybody could just knock me over my head and take this thing to the bank and like cash it out.
Well, who's taking Bitcoin though now? It's just websites. I mean, there's no actual stores yet or brick and mortars that will take it, right?
Well, there are some.
Really?
Yeah, they've it's in their own way. They're trying to make it a currency that you can use in various ways. One of the famous uses of this that's actually not been talked about in a while. This is how fast everything moves. Is like the CryptoPunks is an interesting thing to see because this is a couple years old, and so now it's like now all of a sudden this thing's popular. Bitcoin had a moment when it first started. Nobody knew what was going to happen with it, who was going to use it, whatnot. But if you look up, everybody looks up later. We don't have to do it right now. But like 50 Cent took one of his albums to, he would take payment in Bitcoin. He took
Oh,
payment in
shit.
Bitcoin when Bitcoin was worth nothing.
Uh-huh.
And so, if you think and he made like a fortune in Bitcoin because people paid him out in Bitcoin, and he probably had a lot of Bitcoin, and it's been on its rise. Like, I don't know what he has left.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't been,
Right,
I don't know.
right. You got a lifestyle. You got a lot of things to pay for.
Right,
Hoes,
but
parties.
So how does he
there
make
was-
money? Just to the dummy like me,
Yeah.
he got all that Bitcoin for that album, but then how does he turn that into like liquid daggers, like real cashola?
So then what all you almost have to play. You have to play a little bit of the long game because again, what you're
Yeah.
like any asset system, what you're hopeful for is more people buy into it, believe it, buy
Yeah.
into it, and their collateral comes in, and you go, I think I'm going to sell some of mine off so I can take some of the, you take some of
I get it. Yeah.
some of your gains and take off with them, right?
So
that's
he makes money by people who buy into it.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. The people that give him
Yeah.
coins, great. He should just hold on to those. You'll see a term. You'll see a term if you read up on some of the stuff. You'll see the letters HODL, and it's in some ways it means hold, but really it says hold on for dear life is the term. But
Mhm.
that's what. So you see a lot of the things that you saw similarly this year in the whole GameStop stock or the AMC stock. People going crazy, and they were saying like they had diamond hands. That's like another like nerd term was like, I got diamond hands. Like, and if people don't have diamond hands, they have paper hands because they're weak. And so people are like, people literally like sometimes buy this shit and they'll play the long game. You'll see a lot of people flip NFTs, flip these CryptoPunks or whatnot, but you have people hanging on. And for better or for worse, think of it this way, and this is one of those. What these things are is not guaranteed, right? And so it's guaranteed if you get paid in it. If you get paid out, but it's not guaranteed until you do. And so like it's like gambling a little bit. It's like craps.
Stocks. Yeah.
Craps or I was stocks, sure, but more like to me like it's almost kind of craps level, kind of like keep pushing in, and you got so much on the table. You better hope that whole system stands itself up. Because the instant that system doesn't stand itself up, and then you're the last one holding the bag, like you got nothing.
So just on that note, and we could always, like you said, we could always go back to other pieces of it. But so let's say you're like average Joe in San Jose or Seattle or wherever the hell we live.
Yeah.
And you want to get into something like this. Now, there are markets for NFTs. Like my buddy Sam, shout out to Sam in Oakland. He got me on the NBA Top Shot.
Yeah.
So that's basically like you're buying virtual basketball cards.
Right.
And there's like special editions, like special packs. Some got expensive.
Yeah.
The marketplace was really their own marketplace to buy and sell. And part of it I thought was kind of a scam just because like in order to get a pack.
It sounds like a scam.
Well, it's like to get a pack at this time that I was buying a pack, you had to already have a few cards you already had to have a few cards. Right. So you go to the marketplace, you try to buy, like for me, I'm a cheap ass. So you try to buy like 3 cheap cards.
$3.
And then, they were like, no, they were like $20 at that time. Like the cheapest one was 18, whatever. And then once like that pack got released and you got it, then the market like dropped. And then everything was then $8, $3, whatever. So that was like that. But then also, I guess the question is that's one form, but like with Bitcoin or other coins, can you buy just like a little chunk of it? And if so, like, how does that work?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Yeah, the NBA Top Shots is an interesting one because they're their own platform, and which is they're kind of they're doing good sales still, but they're a little bit being left behind by these other projects for now. Like NBA Top Shots had its moment a few months ago when everybody was super hype about it, right? The basketball was in season. It was new. It was like you said, it's a new basketball card. They've borrowed, they've done a really good job to borrow the sort of Pokemon card idea, which is what like you get basic ass shit, and then all of a sudden you get holograms, and you get all the then some cards get special treatment, and there's very rare, right? So you even see like who I don't know for who it was that wore like a special Charizard card around his neck in a lanyard. I forget who that was. So you have that, right? To the Top Shots. Separately now, what a lot of this business is done on, there's a few sites. The number one site right now, it's called OpenSea.io. And there's a few other ones called Rarible, One's called Nifty Gateway. Super Rare is another one. And so all these sites are, effectively speaking, they're almost, think of them like they're all, baseball card, comic book store, fronts, because what they are is they're selling collectibles, right? This is
Right.
what NFTs really wind up being. They're collectibles in some way, shape, or form. And so OpenSea is kind of where a lot of the business is done. And what you buy with there is you're buying with Ethereum. So so
Okay.
OpenSea and most of these NFT platforms are actually built on Ethereum, and they're, again, like, think of the Etsy model is like they're just their currency to spend is in Ethereum, but essentially, like, it's almost like the term, you guys are familiar with, it's called white labeling, meaning
Mm.
you're going to build your project connected to Ethereum, but it's your storefront, but the cash you take is Ethereum as your currency, right? You're
So
paying.
so I guess I was kind of wondering that in my head. So it's really like, instead of using credit cards,
Yeah,
this is an
don't use credit
alternate to
cards.
that.
Yeah, because you
Because
have to buy cryptocurrency in another way. You have to go buy the cryptocurrency
yeah.
to then come in and buy the collectible. So
Okay.
you with your credit card sitting at home thinking you got I got $5,000 in space on my credit card, you're gonna usually have to go through a secondary system to push your
Mm.
actual your fiat into the system to buy
Mhm.
Ethereum, and then you can take that Ethereum and buy the thing. Now
Interesting.
but
Okay.
you asked me really quickly, because I don't want to lose the thought
Yeah.
of the fractional ownership. So a lot of times these as the normal person goes, you're most of the time you're going to go alone. Now that being said, you could form a, which is the nature of the NFTs and all this stuff too, is just like the nature of community, and or finding like-minded people, finding your tribe of people to do business with, whether that's friends or you just find some people in a space in some way, shape, or form. You would say, hey, let's pull together some funds and let's go buy one of these things. And so you would usually you can do that on your own, and obviously you have to like trust each other that you're going to do this. I haven't gotten so deep. I haven't gotten too deep yet in the fractional stuff. I know some people that I work with or in our community do that. There are some ways to look up ways to buy fractional ownership in an NFT, like, because even fractional ownership is big in the real world now with homes. I think there's a business called like Picasso where you can buy a dope ass home and you go in 8 ways. So
Right.
yes,
Almost
there's
like a
fraction there's
timeshare or
opportunity.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and
In a
yeah,
sense,
in that
in a
case,
sense. Yeah.
right. But some of these groups are doing that. Like I saw it is a big part of what's moving a lot of this stuff. So if you think about what fractional ownership is, it just means that multiple people own it in some way, right? And so there are these groups. I forget the name, but there's a group out there that now is like I think they hold $1 billion worth of in estimated value, $1 billion worth of NFT assets. It's a group. It's not one person. It's a group of people forming up to do this. And so I'm sure at some point, like, in order to get into their fund to do this, I think you had to come up with like, it was at least like $150,000 worth of ETH,
Mm.
and potentially more. Like, so you have to be, you still have to be kind of
A
big
whale.
time. You have to have
Yeah.
some cash. You have to have some liquid laying around, which is all these games always go, right? Like, right now we're in the bottoms up phase of this, which is the little guy has to believe. The big guy is not going to believe until the little guy believes, and the little guys are now like making all the hype, right? They're driving all the hype. All the little guys are getting together, driving the hype up, and eventually, a big guy comes in, Steph Curry, and I don't know if you guys knew that, but Steph Curry spent
Yeah.
he bought
Mm.
a Bored Ape, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Bored Ape Yacht Club, BAYC is the short on Twitter. But if you go look that up, Steph Curry paid in and bought himself one, and I'm really curious what he's going to do with it, because I think he paid around 150, 160K for it
Wow.
in ETH. But so he just did that. Visa did it roughly last weekend. They bought an ape or a punk. I'm not sure which one it was. I think I want to say it was an ape as well. And they bought it almost purely for like the marketing purposes. They were just like, they didn't do anything. They didn't say
Mm.
anything. They just like bought the thing. Hey, we bought this thing. And then people were like, oh, Visa, because Visa also wants to figure out like what is this market going to be like? Can you
Yeah.
To your question, like, can Visa find a way to allow you to buy cryptocurrency and or NFTs more directly
Right.
than it being a two-step process?
I think at the younger customers too.
It certainly helps
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
gives you instant, like, and this is like the whole thing, right? The whole the thing that you keep in mind with this is status as a service. So you see a lot of things over time have been like as a service, right? And in technology, everything is as a service, and so software as a service, or cloud computing is essentially like storage as a service, cloud stuff, right? And then software before that, if you could use things on the Salesforce is software as a
Yeah.
service, right? So everything's something as a service these days, and so that's how you go pitch VCs for money. But status as a service is now the thing where people can get instant swag, instant bragging rights by getting in one of these games, and you don't have to buy the most rare one. Usually, typically, these things have like I think sometimes I see ones are like there's 10,000 of them, or there's 7,777, or we're only making 1,000 of these. That's how these things go. And then as long as you get in, and it's the hype thing everybody else is getting into, you go to social media, you buy the thing, you go to the thing, right? You go to the OpenSea, you buy it, and oh yes, I bought it. Now it's in your account. You copy the image, in a normal way, right click, save as the image. It's just a JPEG, right? And then you
Yeah.
then you go use it as like your avatar on social media. And
How can nobody else use it though? If you bought it, it's your
It's a bluff.
NFT.
It's like poker. It's a
I'm
bluff,
kind of a little
right?
bit
Like, you could
confused.
do
Like,
it.
Yeah.
You could
why
do
doesn't
it.
anybody else screenshot it and be like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
have it too.
Yeah.
I didn't pay jack for it."
Yeah.
So how is that? I'm serious. How is
Yeah.
that shit controlled?
No, 100%. And this is why the blockchain matters, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the proof of ownership. That's the provenance.
So other people
which is-
do have it, but you
yeah.
got the proof of ownership.
Yeah, 100%. So this is in the physical world. What have we seen? We saw,
Yeah.
let's say, we see the Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa sits
Right.
in the Louvre, and everybody can go look at it. People can take pictures of it. It's been reprinted in some poster fashion, postcard, something,
Mhm.
a million times over, many million times over. And so everybody has a copy of it. I can go online right now, find a copy, and download it, and call it mine. But if somebody really took me to Providence and say, what's your proof of ownership? Well, if you guys, I know, Mark, I know you're familiar with baseball cards for sure, and having the physical item. But really, I think when he gets into things like autographs have often, if the person's
Yeah.
a big enough celebrity, Muhammad Ali or something, like, you also need a certificate signed by someone saying this is authentically a Muhammad Ali thing.
Right.
Or somebody wants to grade your baseball card or your comic book, and they go, "Oh, I have to send it to this person, to this company," and they go, "Okay," like a notary, and says, "Yes, this is official. It's this grade," and they seal it for you, and then like, "Great, this is your proof of ownership." And
Right.
blah blah blah.
But how do you keep the value of the JPEG though? If people are copying
Hold
it,
on,
saving it, I mean, how do you say, okay, I'm the original owner of that JPEG? I got the glory, but what does that really do for you internally? Because the market was diluted with counterfeit.
So
that's the part I'm confused with.
Yeah. So this is where technology comes into play. The blockchain is obviously one layer of it. The blockchain, because that's the ledger again, right? There's a ledger that says this thing that was made has this serial number. The serial number was last sold to this person, and so this is the only person that can own that serial number. That's it. And then while somebody else can try to fake it, they can't fake the serial number. And they can't fake it, and so anything else is moot. So if somebody wanted to really go look at it, these tools are out there, easy for anyone to go look at and see, like, does this person actually own the thing? Does the thing that's the real thing? Because also these projects are, just the last thing I'll say here. If you guys seen a really common Instagram, Twitter, you see people that are verified accounts, right? So OpenSea also has a sense of like, okay, this is a verified project. Meaning, like, for example, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. There's a verified project with this number of items, and they've assigned, each serial number with this information, and that's then where this is the bank account. This is your safety deposit box. Now, this account then says, like, yes, whoever now is the current owner is the owner, and away you go. And the only thing about it is it's going to be really curious in some amount of time is this is all recorded technologically and secure and safe and can't be really hard to hack it. So like, this is supposed to be really secure too, right? So all that is great, except that OpenSea as a company, now they're doing phenomenal. But what if they were the biggest, idiots in the world, and they somehow liquidated all of their cash and went out of business and couldn't pay for their servers? And all of a sudden they're like, sorry, so somebody would have to come along and either buy all those servers, because if those servers went down with that content on it, then people couldn't necessarily find that original file again, maybe, but you would still have it on a blockchain somewhere that said, yeah, well, I do own it. Somebody else comes up and tries to buy the servers and say, well, now we own everything. Well, no, it still has a ledger. So it's just so that's kind of where this proof is like the proof of ownership, the provenance. Which is why I mentioned the Steph Curry thing, because I think that's super interesting. Well, I'll finish off by saying, how cool would it to be to have the jack to spend to if Steph Curry put his up. I was telling somebody about this. It's like, what if the idea that Steph's going to do this because what he wants to do is drive some attention to something. I know he's like he's raising money or gave money to Davidson for the women's sports athletics department. And what if he really wanted to do was like do a raise here where he bought something for 150, but then he could resell it for 5x that or something like that, right?
Right.
Sells it for 5x that and decides like, well, I'm going to just send this to charity. You're the person who buys it at 5x or group of people. You can say not only one, we bought it from Steph Curry. Two, it went to this PR headline. There's news articles about it. And then three, like our names are everywhere because we're the ones who bought it. We have all this swag now, and the market's gone crazy because now Steph Curry was in it and somebody else is in it. Anyway,
Dude, that's just like blowing my mind. That blows my mind about just how to make buying and selling, like you said, the status as a service sort of thing. Like it's all
marketing. Yeah.
Well, it's like us buying clothes, like shout out to Jay and Fam for the hat and the shirt, by the way. I need to rep it, San Francisco.
Keep it real.
But yeah, it's like you do that for the swag. Why wouldn't you do it with, on the positive side, and I've said that before, like you go to Safeway and you just donate a few bucks, you're buying groceries, but you're also like, you're making yourself feel good. But one thing about the Providence, there is a really good special movie on Netflix called Made You Look. It's about art forgery.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like Providence always came up there. Like anytime in the art world a big piece comes up and it's millions of dollars at auction, they have to do that investigation of the provenance to make sure that these things are legitimately either like freshly created by the artist or that is handed out from generations by somebody who somehow came in contact with that artist. Because there's so much forgery in that particular thing. So you did bring up another awesome point that I did have a question about. So NFTs, like just as well as say Bitcoin or Coinbase or whoever gets hacked, NFTs are also in that same sort of thing where you have to, from my understanding is all of it is old. I want to say hacker, but what is that term from the military? Where they kind of hide code. Come on.
Snowden.
Yeah, it's all Snowden stuff, but it's all based on that. It's all
like a virus or what's the other term? There's also Trojan horse.
Yeah, it's like it's basically like the way that you either hide code or you hack code to get the secret messages. So it's all based on the same stuff.
Cryptography.
Yeah, cryptography. So I think it's like a way to sort of use that thing. So anyway, so NFTs themselves also have to be protected. Obviously, because they're, like we said, they're sort of like assets, right? You buy something, but is it okay? So now I'm trying to get to the whole controversy of like the energy sort of consumption with Bitcoin and those kind of things. That's a lot of energy going into that. NFTs, is there a lot of energy going into that, or is that kind of like more of a transaction by transaction sort of thing?
So these systems are all pretty energy inefficient. So let's take Bitcoin for example. It's a different system. Bitcoin is based on something called proof of work. And proof of work, as I mentioned, was all these like server farms and people buying up all the gaming card GPUs. If you've seen that, NVIDIA sells they made a whole division out of their graphics cards for computers, which used to be gamers, right? Gamers want the best quality graphics, and now so NVIDIA, for example, is built a long history of building those products, and then all of a sudden, because of the what those products can do in a cryptocurrency mining space, especially Bitcoin, people started buying them up to build their servers with to be more efficient in doing the code cracking.
But why those cards? And not like I don't know if there's
I don't know the exact detail, but I know that like it's a big deal that they wind up creating a whole division of their business is around just cryptocurrency mining products. So they're building out these super farms to do all this computational work, right? And so all this computational work is then like going on all the time. They do it in all places of the earth, but like
shut that dog up.
China had a whole thing
keeping it safe. He's keeping the podcast safe.
China had a whole thing where they recently shut it down. They were trying to shut down server for
right. I just heard that again.
Bitcoin mining
too.
Yeah. but it happens, and all it does, people just wind up moving there, taking their stuff, moving it somewhere else that someone's not paying attention.
Right, right.
Whether that's Africa, Europe, wherever else, people are doing this everywhere, and so that's a very heavy technological system, and obviously you're running these computers all day every day to do this work, this grindy work, right? This is like straight up pickaxe on a mountain. You're just you're going at it as much as you can to try to like get these little bits out, and so that you can have some, you're creating part of the system, but you're also taking some of the system with you, right? So trying to make some money here. And
Right.
so that system is like that, right? So obviously to run server farms you need a lot of electricity. Similarly with with Ethereum, they also have a transactional system that is automated, and so therefore it's usually multiple systems also having to be party to a transaction. You obviously you're having to make sure those things are all safe, they're all correct, and so therefore you have to have multiple systems that then are able to approve a transaction. Say yes, verified, 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 and you have a few different ones that have to verify it together separately, right? There are separate systems verifying it, and then they can package it up and say, great, it's verified. Yes, a lot of electricity is burned in the process. So that is really where this has come into play now. As I think I think I read somewhere recently, like a lot of this NFT effort on one of the recent days was more than the whole country of Liechtenstein or Luxembourg or something like that. But at the same time, just generally systems today, what we don't really have is a good way to compare it to other systems, and not to say that I would say this is okay, because it's it really isn't, right? I'm not here to destroy the environment to make a dollar, because it's not the way to do business, I think, and going forward in the world. Um, I think a lot of systems these days, whether it's cryptocurrency or other types of just the traditional banking systems, are all digital. Everything is now on computers and computer energy, and so we're all in a race to find this stuff, because and for better or for worse, Elon Musk brought this up, because one of the things he said Tesla was going to do, Tesla was going to take Bitcoin in transactions for Teslas, and then he got his community of followers basically told him like, hey, did you know this thing is dirty, or dirty energy?
Right, right, right.
And then he kind of backed off of it for a second, saying like, oh, okay, we need to we all need to figure out how to make this more efficient, and kind of took a step back. Bitcoin then kind of did take a wobble back, and then has come back more so because he's come back and said like, okay, I think we still have faith here to figure this out. In some small way, he can move a market on his own, but there's a lot of folks out there who are trying to figure out different ways to do either carbon offsets with some of this money, or other projects to figure this out. But
Yeah.
I don't know how fast along this is moving. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're heating up the earth pretty fast here.
With all this pretty new Bitcoin, is there any entity, or maybe there isn't, that monitors it and just kind of regulates it, or is it just all on its own?
No, it's all
Like
on its own.
SEC, or no, they're not really.
No,
Yeah.
not yet. And this is going to be the biggest trick, because even for us, these are the things that we have to watch out for, because there's no official playbook.
Yeah, I mean, the government prints money, right?
Right.
So what about Bitcoin? Is it just
Right.
Anarchy, or
No, but
It has
no,
it
not
has
really.
it's not quite anarchy as much as it's there's a different word, and it's not I'm trying to think of like it's for the people,
yeah,
anywhere, right? And so there's a different term for that, but the way that's described often is like it's borderless, it's it's permissionless. It's just like you should be able to do this transaction anywhere. It doesn't need a government to regulate it, but in some ways, you don't want to necessarily a government to regulate it, which was a big deal in the last couple of weeks, because in crypto news, the whole United States, their big package that they're trying to pass. I forget what the name of that thing is. The couple $1 trillion package
Right,
that was
right.
going through, right? Somebody at the last second tried to jam in a bunch of regulations for crypto.
Oh,
Somewhere in the system, one of these senators or House people, or groups of
that's
those.
typical though. They do that all the
Yeah,
time.
they
Writers, they're
tried
called writers. Yeah.
writers, yeah, they try to jam something in, an
Rough
amendment,
riders.
and so the crypto community, like a lot of the people that are really super into it, are like, wait a second, you made all these sweeping rules and they're not good for anybody, because basically it was trying to say that they wanted to be able to treat anybody who made software, worked in the cryptocurrency industry, not even just the traders or whatnot, and treat them all as traders, almost like stock traders,
yeah,
and tax you and purposes of that nature, like as if we were all working in financial business. In some ways we are, but not at that level. And so that's a rough explanation, but if you get the gist that like it's happening, and while
It's like,
people, you
yeah.
do need it, you do need a certain level of acceptance, because what you don't want to do is a lot of these businesses are starting in the United States, and what you don't have to do is like pick up your whole business and leave the states,
Yeah,
right?
it's like
Because
weed
yeah,
or something where it's like you're able to operate in the state, but if the feds come after you
yeah,
and you start to have that sort of like
yeah,
effect where you pissed off the government, then you're fucked. So you kind of have to play by the rules a bit,
yeah,
whatever they say.
yeah, and there's that's a lot of it because you want to be able to operate in a good market. The United States is a good market to do business in, and
Yeah.
so
People
you
have
want to be
money
able,
here, they don't
yeah.
got money in other fucking places.
Right, and you even see like there's a one business that's been like really out there spending their capital. They're an exchange. Exchange is Coinbase is an exchange. This exchange is called FTX, and FTX is built by dudes that are here in the Bay Area, I think, but their main exchange is in Hong Kong. And they have a separate, more limited exchange for the United States because the rules are different. There's another
Mm.
company called Binance. There's limited rules about what you can do in the United States on Binance because of the regulatory rules around cryptocurrency. Still around, again, back to the I mentioned earlier. It's like, is it a security? Do we really know? How are you doing business with it? And there's a lot of questions on how people do business sometimes, and in this industry still. So
So with that said, you had a really great comment on Twitter last week or 2 weeks ago about OnlyFans, about how OnlyFans, yeah, about the content that some of these chicks are putting out. And I'm just kidding. No, your content
Well, that's
was
over, ain't it? Isn't the
yeah,
real
well,
fun's
yeah,
over?
but like the point Jay was making was that basically like OnlyFans sort of caved to their financiers or the banks that do their transactions. So once again, like a lot of companies may be switching over to crypto, whereas a lot,
yeah,
most businesses are tied to credit card companies, traditional banks, etc. So Jay said, this is a great example where like OnlyFans wouldn't have to cave if they were probably either paid in crypto or
Mm.
that was their transaction. So that was great. I don't know if you want to talk about that or just like other, like what other sort of things could are
yeah,
out there that really could utilize crypto in a way that would preserve sort of their intent as a
yeah,
business.
Does it give
yeah.
them more independency or something if they were to take crypto?
Independence is a big part of it because if you do business again, like I was just saying, if you do business in the United States of America, there's all these rules, right? And or certain things are monopolies, whether or not we say they're monopolies. So for example, like the credit industry is relatively monopolistic, right? You have
HSBC.
Mastercard,
Discovery.
American Express, yeah, and then you have a bunch of other cards after that, right?
Uh,
And so those are when you try to set up a business and you try to take, how many times have you gone to a store, especially in like a place like San Francisco, which used to be really cash friendly? People don't want to take credit cards because of the processing fees, right? But
Oh yeah,
uh,
everybody,
under table
but
cash.
if you do an online business, 100% you got to take. You can't take cash, almost, right? Maybe you can connect a bank in some ways, but everything's credit card based, PayPal, or some other
Yeah.
business that can be your, intermediary for it. So in this case, like OnlyFans, like their big problem apparently was like something like Mastercard or something doesn't want to do that business. They've held off for the time being. They kind of walked themselves back and said, "Oh, okay, well, we're not going to do that right now." Their plan, they've kind of reversed on their plan, but the thing is, this could still come back around because if the banks
Right.
eventually tell them to screw off again, then they're going to have to figure out a different plan, or they're going to have to get a cryptocurrency backing. So as always, it's funny because we're going to talk about OnlyFans. And we're going to go one step further and talk about Pornhub for a second. And so Pornhub,
Yes.
the reason I like to go to the porn industry because the porn industry is the leader in all things digital all the time.
Oh
They're
really?
they're the reason that or technology in general, like the reason the VHS is like one was I think was pornography.
Oh
The reason that
yeah.
the internet is so capable as it is like pornography.
yeah.
There's all these things about like there's always the medium reaching out to these other things, for the really taking on certain things for the first time on a mass scale and that people use, whether they're above, whether you tell people about it or not. But Pornhub, for example, I believe that they also have you can pay through Bitcoin as one of the sites where you can do that. And so I was thinking, I said that sort of in a just sort of offhand, open sense, just like anybody can do this. But you can imagine like if Pornhub kind of wanted to go, I guess, these guys and gals that do, and various people that do OnlyFans, for example, may not want to go to Pornhub and put their content there, right?
Yeah.
That maybe not where they want to be, because I've been in enough businesses to know too, where like people are get concerned about who's going to be on the billboard next to them. Like who else are you bringing? Who else are you inviting to this? I don't want to be next to a porn star, and I don't want to be next to this. And so these things always go that way. So, but what if like that business behind Pornhub, and there is a large business behind it, like they could stand up their a different OnlyFans, and it had a cute name, like an Etsy, OnlyFans, fan house type of name, no big deal. It sounds fun, just it called it just like called it fans. Or whatever, right? Whatever they called it, that just sounded like a normal word. And like, yeah, they did this, and it had this mix of content from just a little bit, basic to lewd, and and then they set it up as a cryptocurrency as a potential source. But obviously, the adoption the problem is always is like the adoption isn't necessarily going to take off right away, because then everybody has to do the work, the marketing, to get people to say, hey, instead of paying me via credit card like you're so used to, you're gonna have to pay me in this thing now. And that's still part of the hurdle here. I think in a year it won't be that hard, but we're still in that phase where, some large percentage, probably something like 80%, or so, Americans are just like, for example, don't have cryptocurrency, and they are going to be a little bit slow to adopt in order to make those.
Can
payments.
cryptocurrency be faceless? Like if I wanted to pay for something, maybe I was embarrassed about, can I purchase it and it doesn't say it came from me?
Why don't you paint a scenario for us?
Yeah, so
like I want to buy I don't know, some self-defense mechanism or something, but I don't want it to say Rob bought it online, right?
You want to buy some milk crates for the milk crate challenge.
I want to buy something weird. I don't know, but yet I don't want it to say I bought it. Will cryptocurrency help me purchase that without a face?
Yeah, for sure. So you can. So today, for example,
that's a good question.
Yeah, it is a great question. Because so there's a couple ways to go about this, right? So one of the things I did, my company was great at, was like, you should go learn this stuff, and here's some light ways, here's some light information to go after. So there's a product out there called MetaMask. MetaMask is an Ethereum wallet. Actually, it's a cryptocurrency wallet. You can have multiple cryptocurrencies in it, and MetaMask is. You can use it as a browser extension in Chrome. It has an app for your phone. You can also open it as a web page, and so you can create an account there. And what it would give you is it will take some information, but I won't say like,
or what's the word I'm looking for?
It will obfuscate who you are by just giving you an address. You just become a 32 character address. It's usually 0x and then a string of numbers and letters.
So it's like a digital wallet.
Yes,
but it doesn't say.
It doesn't
Rob.
say Rob. It doesn't say Rob anywhere. It just says OX something something something. Bought this thing, and so you can have multiple wallets. You can have one wallet where, like, for example, I bought my name on just because one of those things that I'm in this business. I wanted to see what these things were like. So I own the name jasonmaestas.eth. And so just like I do on Twitter, I own it at Jason Maestas, and that's who I am. I'm already a public figure in a sense, and so I bought this thing to go with it. And so, but I can get another wallet address, and then nobody would know who that was, as long as I didn't trace things back to me. So you have to just be wary that, like, are you going to don't buy self-defense and porn and then go buy like a Beanie Baby. And then, then you're on Facebook telling people like, hey, look at this Beanie Baby. I bought it with crypto, man. And people go look at the transaction and go, wait a second, dude. Because what they can do then is that if you look up somebody's address, you can see their other transactions on that address.
Oh, okay. But you won't see their name.
You won't see their name. You'll see the other transactions. So that's why
it's almost like Venmo or something, right? Or Zelle, like
or like Cash App.
Yeah, right? I paid $50 to some chick. Why?
Yeah.
Favors.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's just address to address. As long as somebody doesn't out your address, again, don't tell somebody it's your address. Like, this is where, if you want to do business like that, just don't tell somebody that this is your address. You just go, oh, is it purchasable for me without me saying anything to this person? We can just do this transaction, address to address. Great, boom, let's do this.
So let's stay on the topic, and then we're going to close out soon because we're going to be respectful of time for our illustrious guests. But for so paying people on Pornhub,
Yeah.
when we say like you can pay them in, let's just say that you could pay them in Bitcoin. Again, how do you, if you're paying someone, are you paying them $50,000 the cost of a Bitcoin, or how are you paying them in chunks again? Sorry, that's where
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah.
kind of
No,
confused.
that's fine. So yeah, fractionalization is totally a thing in this world. So you almost think of this like pennies, but of course, like the typical national currencies are limited in how, what they can do now, right? Because you have a penny, you have a nickel. Nobody's making, composable, a computable penny. Like you can't like
No.
take the penny and like say, oh, only give me an eighth of this thing. But because we're
Oh,
we're
true,
working in a
true.
world of computers and we can do fractionalization. So you can, instead of, like, for example, like if I wanted to buy ETH, say today it's give or take ETH is $3,000. I don't have to buy $3,000 worth of ETH. I can buy, like, I have $100. I'm gonna buy $100 worth, just to play with it, have fun with it. Here, put it in an account, let it sit there and stare at it. Right? I can do that, and the thing will tell you own point, 0.08 or zero something, or in some cases, like, do I own, you own 6.57345, ETH.
Right.
That's how far it goes. And so if you get into these systems, the one thing that where we were talking about a little bit earlier about, like, regulations, SEC, IRS, is that the fact that there's a USD, at least as a paradigm, is very available. It matters. It's helpful to the adoption of this thing, as long as you can wrap your mind around, like, okay, what am I actually spending or not? Some people like to say, well, I was having a conversation with some friends because they bought some NFTs, and I saw what they spent on it because I can go look up, like you said, I knew how to go look up his account. And I saw, like, oh, you spent one ETH on this one and 3 ETH on that one. Like, you're a rich fucker. And the guy was like, well, it's just one ETH. I said, that's $9,000. He goes, well, but it's
Right.
only one ETH. It's only 3 ETH. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
all right, big timer.
Yeah.
But if you kind of, but if you step that back, like what people can list in, and we do this on our site with even these creator coins, you can list it in a number of coins. You could say, like, oh, we have there's a super producer on our site. His name is Illmind. Illmind will take he'll take his own coin for, like, exclusive beats. That he'll make you a beat just for you, like 50K, but he lists it as USD 50K,
Mm.
and then whatever the current of his coin price equals that 50K is how much you have to buy and then pay him that 50K. That's how he wants to take it, right?
Right.
And so in this case, so for example, if what you're really doing in the case of Pornhub, I believe that you're paying the system, you're not paying the artist directly. So it's almost like you have to pay the system,
Mm.
and then you get string tokens. You get tokens to, like, then pay people out on the
Like
site.
maybe they own the coin and
Yeah, I'm
you're
not
buying,
100%. Yeah,
they're
I'm not
making it
100% sure
liquid
because I
when
haven't
you pay
used the
for it.
system, but my imagination is
Sure.
yeah, I know. The artists, the artists are not taking the Bitcoin directly. The
Right.
system is taking it for them and then giving them whatever percentage, right? They take their cut, their rent, their 30%. And so, but in that case, so that's kind of how that functions. But I'm sure the price is listed as, oh, it's either you can pay $10 or you can pay, and then some computational thing that says, or you can pay 0.0001 Bitcoin and just
Mm.
connect your Bitcoin wallet to this thing, and therefore we can just, and then deposit it.
Yeah.
That's where that transaction happens. So that's what would happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
All right.
fractionalization is the whole thing.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, shit. I think we need to stew on this a little bit. I'm over here like, what the fuck? Like, how do I got these like 3-4 NBA Top Shop fucking NFTs that are fucking doing nothing for me. I gotta
Yeah.
step my game up and get into some stuff.
But that system is interesting because before we run off here, like what I saw this past weekend. So I talked about Bored Ape Yacht Club, right?
Mhm.
And so and luminaries are coming into it. Steph Curry bought one, Visa bought one. And then I'd seen other people on it before. And then what this community did was this company behind it. They're making mad cash at this thing, right? They're making this art and selling it. And then what they did was they just released another version of the Bored Apes. They were called Mutant Apes, and so they were like they took the art and now looks like everything's melted. It's like you poured radioactive
Mm.
fluid on all the apes, and now they gave you all these different versions. And so in order to get from one to two, you could buy a serum, this thing called the serum or something. The serum was like I guess the radioactive shit, right?
Uh-huh.
But you had to I believe you had to hold an ape already. And so these things can also, like the Top Shot thing is very similar, where in order to get in the game, you may have to you may not be able to get the original. You may be a secondary market buyer. You can get
Right.
something out of a pack. You can buy a pack and get something. You're the first owner of it. You're the first person to own number 5055 Draymond Green assist. I don't know, whatever, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And then you can flip it, right? At some point, or you buy it from somebody in order to start building your point system up to get to the next level, so that you can get to the next card level, so you can actually buy a legendary pack next time. It's
Right.
it's funny because it's paying money for the privilege of paying more money.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is that's the status of that's the swag, that's the game, and I think it's interesting to see how this will be applied. And I'll close out with this to say, um, I think a lot of people will catch on. You talked about the Fortnite thing, and I'll take the Fortnite thing because gaming's going to take NFTs to a whole other level. And it'll be better for everyone. That what they'll be able to do is create games, and you'll be able to own all the shit you bought. The shit that you bought in game isn't just locked in the game.
Right.
Because
Right. Right.
that's where we've been today.
Yeah, yeah.
People want to own that shit because they want to be able to sell that shit, as long as the company or the original person who created it or sold it gets a percentage on the secondary sale forever, potentially. So think of what this is, what NFTs can do is, if
Right.
you're an artist or something, whatever matters, like you guys could theoretically package your podcasts, right, as NFTs. You would take it to OpenSea, take your video file, take it to OpenSea and say, we're selling this one. You'll be the only owner of it, right? Now that doesn't mean that you don't have rebroadcast rights. That just means that they own it. They own the file. That is the thing, right? And so you could do that, and then what you would say is 10% or 20%, whatever you want that secondary percentage to be, like, to always be, every time it's sold thereafter, you get 10 or 20% of
Yeah.
the future sale. And the reason I want to drop that is because that's how the gaming companies can also make money. Fortnite could always make money that they only release 10 of one thing in the game, and then those things are sold into perpetuity, and they still get part of that cash later on, right? And and then take it one step further into the physical world. Imagine Nike dropping Jordans or whatever, Kanye shoes through Adidas, that you could buy the shoe and Adidas would say, great, we've recorded this on the blockchain. And when you sell this shoe, you'll have to enter this thing, and then we get a secondary sale in the future. Every
Right.
time that shoe is sold again and again,
Yeah.
because of its rarity, they could take another percentage later on, and they're not cut out of the secondary market game.
So this
So
sounds
secondary
very.
market is a huge thing.
So
You
this
can
is
make your
very.
money back. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Or
is very
if not
similar
more.
to music. Like that's how music almost is. Once, like, up until I think the rights are, like, artists can buy their stuff back after so many years, but until then, like, every time somebody wants to sample your music, you got to pay them, and everybody gets a cut. Like, produce.
That's a little bit different, but along those lines, that you can
Like a royalty.
yes,
Yeah.
it is. It's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. That's the right word. It's royalty. That's what you want. You want the royalty to continue to pay you back, because royalties are actually, yes, music has royalties, TV has royalties. That is the right way to, yeah, that's the right way to think about it. Is that whenever somebody else plays this again in the future, you get some piece of it back.
That's really cool.
That's
though,
what we
with,
need
like,
to do.
products.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
we
that?
need.
Yeah.
We need. Yeah, you're right. We need first. We need to make $1 at this, and then after that, we're gonna go straight NFT route. We're
Yeah,
gonna
for
sell
sure. I
to-
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, or and the thing is, think of the marketing aspect of this. If you guys, like, put a couple of dollars together and, like, went and bought one of these, find out one of these trendy pudgy penguins or some other trendy NFT, and you bought one, and all of a sudden, like, you could, by buying one of those things and, like, putting it on your social media account, hey, we're in this game, you hashtag the pudgy penguin, you hashtag the Bored Ape Yacht Club, whatever, people in those communities will just be like, hey, you're one of us now, we'll all follow you.
Yeah.
And then you go, hey, guess what else I do? I make a
Oh,
podcast.
shit.
That's what these things are. These things are just like
Like a flag.
branching
They're like
out,
a
yeah.
flag.
yeah,
You're like, get the
which is
flag.
why I said the fan
Marketing,
club.
marketing.
But yeah, you just joined the club. You're in the door. You got the thing now. You go, hey, I got one just like you. Hey, here you go. Everybody meet this person. Come to our Discord. Have
Yeah.
conversations with us. Hey, in the Discord, this is what happens in those things, is that then people go, hey, come and promo yourself in one of these channels, promo channel. And you go, hey, we have a podcast. And then people go, girl, we'll watch your podcast.
I think we just found a great idea.
So it's like,
Fuck
that's like
yeah.
one of the, this is what it
Yeah.
is. It can get tricky because sometimes people don't want you to be so obvious that, like, I bought this so we could market our podcast.
Yeah.
But you kind of buy it and you act like you're cool, and then somebody goes, what do you do? And you go, oh, well, I have a podcast. you're like, you got asked.
Yeah.
And so like, hey, we
Yeah.
talk about fun
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
You want to
yeah.
come on? And then somebody be like, hell yeah. And like, hey, I have this thing in common with you.
Nice. Illuminati.
Yeah, that's where we are. We're all stuck. The offshoot of being stuck at home. Like we have to come up with new ways to entertain ourselves and find. We can't go outside and find our tribes anymore. We can't do that in a physical
Yeah,
way. But
that
you
makes
can
sense.
online. So this is how you do it. And this is how you market now. Everybody isn't. I had a friend tell me probably a year or two ago in the Twitch business. The Twitch guy, he does other things now, but like he said, this social media has made everyone an influencer. At least you have the ability to be an influencer,
Fuck
right?
yeah.
And so this is now everybody's going to market for themselves. You got to go for yours. You got to get your swag, and so this is one way to go about it.
That's
Yeah.
dope. That's dope.
There it is.
All right, there's some gems right there from our bro Jason.
Yeah, I learned a
Jason
lot.
M.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. No, I did too. I mean, like I said, we got to soak on this a little bit. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to see what the peeps say. But anyways, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Shout out episode 21. Drink
21.
token.
Wait.
There we go. Get the Jarritos in.
They
All
got
right.
the colors are going to do my 2-1.
There you go.
We're not affiliated with any gangs, by the way.
Yeah. All right, boys.
All right. Peace all.
See you.